Have you ever felt like God is calling you to something more, but you're sitting there thinking, where do I even start? You feel the pull, you feel the desire, but the overwhelm keeps you stuck. Friend, if that's you, this episode is going to meet you right where you are, because today you're going to hear Lisa's story. And what I love about Lisa's journey is that she didn't have to have it all figured out when she started. She was unsure, she was stuck, and she didn't know what steps to take first. But instead of staying there, she chose to take a step, and then another one. She followed a clear plan, she leaned into her faith, and she surrounded herself with the support that she needed. And in just a few months, she went from questioning everything to launching her business, launching her website, and booking clients. That is the power of clarity. That is the power of support. And that's exactly what is possible for you too. And that's also why, in celebration of my birthday this month, I'm doing something really special for you. You can get $100 off any course inside of ProOrganizer'sAcademy.com when you use the code BIRTHDAY in all caps. Inside the Academy, I walk you step by step, just like Lisa, through how to start your organizing business, how to launch your website, how to work with clients, and then how to simplify your marketing so you're not stuck guessing and overthinking or trying to piece it all together on your own like I did, because you don't have to do this alone. If you've been praying about starting, this might just be your answer. Go to ProOrganizer'sAcademy.com, use the code BIRTHDAY, and let's take that first step together. All right, let's dive into Lisa's story. It is so good. I'm Samantha Brown, professional organizer, decluttering specialist, and business coach. I created Pro Organizers Coach podcast to empower you to reach new heights in your business. I am on a mission to build a supportive sisterhood of passionate professional organizers. So whether you're a seasoned pro or you're just getting started, this podcast is for you. Welcome back to the Pro Organizers Coach podcast and YouTube channel. Today, I am doing a very special episode, in my opinion, because it is with one of my members, Miss Lisa. She has started her business. She has launched her website. She is now working with clients, and she's done it all through the courses and through the community. And so I'm super excited to let you all hear from her what her experience has been, having me as a coach, being in the community with the other ladies, taking the courses, and then now working with clients. So thank you, Lisa, for being on the show.
You're welcome, Samantha. It's a pleasure to have the opportunity. So thank you also. I just wanted to say that I had tried many different types of businesses, thinking I wanted to do a little something on the side, but it never panned out. And one of the biggest things I think is overwhelm in what you have to do to start a business. So two things I want to address. One is that your course helped me tremendously. And if it were not for the course, I would not be in business, because there's just so much that you have to do and you don't know. And having the material there, having the step-by-step, even the homework and all the things that are needed to make sure that all the checks are done. And then if you didn't catch something or you got confused, you could just go back to the material. So it's always there for you to refer to. It's just tremendous. There wasn't anything that wasn't covered. And the second thing is who you are as a person, because I had listened to many other organizers who had courses. I even got some of their materials, some certain check sheets and things like that. And there's something to be said about a vibe, right? There's a vibe that you get from someone. Now, these other ladies were very nice. I even went through, I paid a couple of dollars for like some just mini things, but I just didn't have a particular feeling. And I was on the verge of going forward with something because I knew I needed something. And then I came across some of your podcasts and I just started to kind of binge listen to them.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, everything you said I was like, yeah, I've thought about that. I understood what you were saying. I was interested in the content. There was a wealth of information, and how you came across was just so genuine and authentic. And it's interesting because I'm learning that even as a business owner, first time, I think people get linked to us for that very reason. There are many different businesses of the same kind. Why do we go with one person over another?
Mhm.
Sometimes you just go by price. But at the end of the day, in what we do, we are so in a personal situation with these
Absolutely.
clients. And so, how we relate to them, our background, our gifts, our talents, our skills, what we bring, and each one of us is different, but we're led to the people we're supposed to work with.
Thank you for sharing that, honestly, because sometimes I almost put too much into like the courses and the different things to the point of like the own detriment of like my marriage or like different little things. Because even like right now, I'm working on the marketing course because I know that's the other place people get really stuck is how do I market my business?
Right,
But I'm the type that I'm like, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to give it 1,000%. Like, I'm going to make sure it has whatever they need in there so they can use it almost as like a dictionary that they come back
right.
to and refer back to. And today, I had been recording the past few days and I went upstairs and my husband was like, "Are you going to be recording all day again today?" was like I said, "Yes, honey." I was like, "But okay, I'll take a break." But it's just because I honestly care. Like I
Right.
truly like from my heart, I know that God has called me to this. And I was even telling my husband, I think yesterday, I was praying and I had this memory of when I was a little kid and I used to teach my dolls, right?
Mhm.
And I know I think a lot of us do. But then whenever I had gotten older, God, when I first started following him, one of my friends that I had helped her get saved, she goes, "Samantha, I feel like I'm supposed to tell you and that God wants me to tell you that you're going to be a teacher." And I was
Mhm.
like, and at the time I was working with autistic kids and I'm like, well, maybe it's this that he's taught, but I don't feel like a teacher. And
Right,
there's just different points in my life that I know God has called me to this. And I take it very seriously that he's called me. And the women that he sends to me, I take very seriously that because I'm not just helping you all, I'm helping you all, your families, the clients that you're gonna be helping, like,
right,
it's a trickle effect.
right.
And so, just point being is as a coach, I take it very seriously, and I'm very honored that people would choose me because, like you said, there's plenty of options out there.
Mm.
And so, yes, so I am so thankful that anyone chooses me to work with me. And then so tell us a little bit about, like, the name of your business, how long you've been doing this now, and that
Mhm.
kinda stuff.
Sure. So I put a lot of thought into the name of my business because, which is Triple Crown Organizing. It carries a lot of weight, I think, from the fact that I am a faith-based person and I wanted to be in business with God and I wanted him to be my partner. And so the Triple Crown is like the Holy Trinity, the crown of the Trinity. It's also the Triple Crown as it relates to horse racing because it's like, and I always think because I love horses, I know that Secretariat was the greatest racehorse. His record still hasn't been beaten. And he did things, principle was he did something nobody thought he could do. Worked with admin all my life. Yeah. You knew I was supposed to be doing something different, but just didn't quite know what that was at the time. But I went through a major career shift and I really had time to step back and think about what I wanted to do. And I realized as I was thinking about different jobs that I had and different things I did that I was doing organizing all along. And I didn't realize that's what it was called, so to speak.
Right.
So yeah, so as far as the name, there's I also knew of a phrase called running with the horses, and it's basically, being undaunted, overcoming challenges. And that's what I had to overcome because I had to decide, hey, do I just want to run out and get another job and keep it simple and just do what everybody else, thinks I'm supposed to do or expects me to do?
Mhm.
And I was like, you know what? No, I am going to rise. I'm going to take the challenge. But I knew I needed help. And it will just segue just to say, and another plug for you is that I did the website course. I would have not had the website done if I didn't have the course. And that was fantastic as well. To have both of those things, well, the support, which I know we can talk about a little bit more, but because the community is amazing, is basically it meant a lot to me. So Triple Crown Organizing, and I started working before my business was first launched back last December, a little bit here and there all throughout the year, but officially this past October. So a couple of months, but all the while, building things, planting seeds, going to meetings, networking, things like that. That's been my experience. And I can say that I feel like I'm quote unquote living my best life in the sense that
Yeah.
it's been such a rewarding and enriching experience meeting so many people who support one another and who want to help one another, especially among the small business owner community.
Yes,
I
yeah.
found that
Oh,
to be
yeah.
pretty remarkable.
Yeah. And I think what's even more remarkable is I know that you've been planting seeds for a while, but you launched at this point as we're recording, it's like the 3rd week in January. And so you're not even what, 3 full months in, and we were just talking before we hit record that you're booked this whole week with clients
Yeah.
to the point where your neck's hurting. 'Cause which, we were talking about that. You have to take care of your health as an organizer because that is our bread and butter. And of course, we can always get assistance and those types of things as
Right.
we go forward. But to just be a few months in and already be fully booked out that, at least this week, like it took me I was thinking about this the other day. Like, how long did I live week to week, not knowing if I had sessions that week until the week actually came?
Mhm.
And I think it was a good 2.5 years of not ever. I mean, I always had like maybe a sporadic session booked here or there throughout like a few weeks or so. But most weeks it was on Friday looking at the next week being like, "Huh, I have one session next week," or and then I'd get a phone call and then I'd do the consultation and before I know it I'd have sessions that week.
Right.
And I've just now over the past year or so gotten to the point where then I would book out 2 weeks and then a little bit more. And then it still comes in waves, right? We all know depending on the season and some months. And what's crazy is the seasons change as well. So like for me, normally January is my slowest month. And as a human, I always thought January would be so booked cuz new year resolutions
Right.
but I think people are so overwhelmed and just done after Christmas that they just want to break for a minute. But
Right.
last year in January, I had my whole January booked before we had even
Wow.
gotten into December. But then this year, back again, I had nobody again. So
Mhm.
like it's crazy how the job works. And I
Yeah.
say that just to say that if you're experiencing that and even if you're 2 or 3 years in at this point, it's part of being an organizer. Like that's why like cleaners, you have the exact same clients you work with every single week, every single other week kind of
Right.
thing. But as organizers, ideally, we've helped our clients, and so then
Right.
we have to find new clients. And it's the one kind of caveat that's a little annoying sometimes. But what I've found is every time that with a humble heart, I'm like, all right, God, send me the next person that I'm meant to help. When
Right.
you come at it from that perspective, He really does send you the people you need when you need them.
Right. Yeah, I
Yeah.
can speak to that too because both people that I'm working with this week, I feel like they were 100% put brought to me. And it definitely makes a difference because, you're serving them and you have to believe that you have what they need, the
Mhm.
skills, the personality, the patience, and things like that. Yeah. Which is which is another thing we can talk about in terms of when you if I can go off a little bit
Yeah,
on a tangent,
absolutely.
is when you are dealing with people, it's interesting to know the difference in someone who's much younger, I've found, is able to make decisions a little more quickly because they haven't had the 30 plus years that the older generation has with all that they've held on to.
Mhm.
But when we can work with them, particularly the older population, which is the niche, the legacy organizing that I am focusing on, is I just asked this one particular person, we had gone through several binders that we reduced down to one on a particular issue that they had to deal with about 10 years ago, but they didn't want to. They had put so much work into these binders and recording everything and documenting everything that they didn't want to let it go. So we worked together and we got it down to one. And earlier today, when I was with them, I said, by the way, have you thought about those binders? Have you missed anything? Oh, I've never thought about it since that day. So it just goes to show you that, you know, we learn too as organizers how we're done, you know, even in important things that we're helping folks to get rid of. We always want to do it very carefully and judiciously because it is important to them, even if it doesn't make sense to hold on to things. But then that's one positive experience now that can be built on,
Yes.
so that they can have more and more success doing stuff like that because there's a lot of clutter.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, the same could like one of the things I use with kids and with parents because a lot of parents think that their kids it's all the toys are their favorite. All the toy, like they
Mm,
and then a kid, if you put a toy in front of them, it's going to be their favorite because it's right in front of them half the time, especially the younger kids. And so when you're working with a parent that has this idea that their kid loves all the toys that they've ever bought them, one of the kind of tricks, not tricks, but tips I use is that I'm like, okay, the ones that you aren't sure about, let's put in a bin. Let's put it in the attic or in the garage or just somewhere out of the kids, out of sight, out of mind, and give it a
mm,
time frame. I don't care if the time frame's 3 months. Like, I don't care how long you need to hold on to these bins.
right,
Anything they ask for, go get it out of the bin and act like you found it. Anything after that time frame that they have not asked for, if it's been even just a month for kids and they've not asked for it, they're not going to ask for it again. And so the same I feel like could almost be said for elderly too, especially when you start working with like dementia and some,
mm,
things like that, because a lot of them go back to those childhood thinking sometimes and stuff. And I think sometimes, like I was working with an elderly lady that has dementia, and her niece lived out of state. She had hired me because none of the family live around here. So I kind of did the same thing, but with a storage unit because I couldn't leave it at her house. And
right,
so her niece actually went and got like a small little storage unit that I was able to take the stuff to so we could see if she asked for any of it. And then anything she didn't ask for, after like even 6 months, we're leaving it in the storage unit for a while just to make sure. But sometimes you can kind of give that buffer, but anything they're willing to release like that is fantastic. And I think
yeah,
also too, that also the other kind of, like, not niche I hate the word niche because I feel like we help so many different people, but is, like you and I were talking about earlier, is the ADHD population and the neurodivergent and those, the people that I actually had a lady the other day because 'cause I've been doing this long enough now that and not to I don't wanna come off bad when I say this, not to say that I can just pinpoint someone with ADHD because I would never be like, "Oh, you have ADHD."
right,
But in my consultation, I started noticing a few things that are typical of people with ADHD.
right,
And come to find out, she had just been diagnosed last month with
mm,
ADHD, and she's got 2 young kids. She works from home. She's like 35 or almost 40. And I didn't realize how prevalent it is that a lot of women in that age range are starting
mm,
to get diagnosed with ADHD that have never even known that they had it their whole life. And
Mm.
so, the more we can learn about that, I do have Kristen in the membership that I do plan on doing a podcast episode with her because she not only has ADHD, but she actually works with clients specifically with ADHD. But I want to start learning more about some of those things because, even the lady I'm helping right now, I was talking to her about body doubling and how helpful that is.
Right.
And she didn't even know that term. She had no clue
Mhm.
what body doubling meant. And so I think sometimes we almost assume that people know the things we know and we forget that she had no clue what body doubling was. And so I was able to
Right.
explain it to her. And so I think back to your point of when we're called to someone, if we can have an open heart and an open mind as we're talking to them, a lot of times we really do have what they need, or we can at least help facilitate
Right.
some of the stuff that they need if we're open to it. And that's why, like, every time I go to a session, I'm like, all right, God, help me to be like, let me be your hands and feet and your mouthpiece. Like, whatever this person needs to hear, whatever, needs to happen, please let it happen. Because ultimately, I know He's got it covered. And then it takes the
Right.
pressure off of me having to have all the answers.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I have noticed as well that there are certain things with folks that have ADHD. I can learn a lot more and I know there's a lot of information out there in how to address it. I know that, anytime we can simplify things for them is a good thing, giving them less decisions to make, especially when there's so many decisions to make, finding ways to keep them free from distractions because any one thing they could be focusing all over the place and kind of like going around in a circle and overwhelmed, not knowing, what to do. So there's definitely another whole layer, another dynamic with working with that clientele. And because as you mentioned, it's more prevalent than we've ever known it to be. And some people might not even know it is helpful to have that. It is, and if I can kind of tap into our community in professional organizing and into the group coaching that you do with us, it's just amazing because it doesn't matter what time or day it is. We always have that little app on our phone that we can just ask questions, whether it's product related or, hey, I've got, it doesn't matter. I mean, I haven't heard the same question asked twice so far.
Mm-mm.
You know what I mean? And it's super helpful. And the fact that it's such a lovely group of ladies, they're all diverse, they all have their own unique skills and gifts, and we can draw from each other. So I do need to definitely shout out the community. And I have to say to you, Samantha, that your response time is like 0 seconds. Like as soon as something comes in, you are right on it. You always respond, no matter, and I know that you do it because you give white glove service. I have to say, I know you do it because you care. It's what you're running for us, but I know that if nobody's going to answer, you're going to answer. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And you've got all that experience, and usually many of the other girls do answer as well. So, yeah, I did want to mention that, and I really appreciate that. It's wonderful to have that support. It's wonderful to have the Tuesday calls beyond the app and things of that nature to have guests. I know I'm going probably off on a tangent with everything that you provide, but I'm saying it also because for any of your listeners, they need to know that they're getting so much from being a part of what you do, of your courses, and it's just very unique and special. And so I just can't say enough good things about it.
Yeah. Honestly, and I mean, I really do appreciate it. I know I said earlier, but I feel the same way. Like, I look forward to Tuesdays because even like I learn stuff all the time, and like I hear, stuff or the newer, the girls that are just getting started, they bring this like excitement and this new energy, and then the ones of us that have been doing it a little bit longer, we like we bring this more kind of wisdom, but it's this beautiful kind of mesh and flow of
Right.
helping one another always. And, you know, one of the things that used to bug me senseless, and I know why they would do it, but I was a part of a few different communities when I was first starting this one because I wanted to see how other people were doing their communities. And every community I was a part of, you stayed muted. No one got to talk except for like the coach. And then maybe and then they typically would just answer the questions in the chat that they're typing out.
Right.
No one else got to unmute. Like it felt very disconnected to me. And that was something that, like, I was like, I don't want mine to feel that way. Like I want each person that needs something that day or needs to be checked on, or even if they don't
Right.
need to be checked on and they just want to say hi, like whatever it is, I wanted to make sure that each person in the group that chose to show up did so like being excited because they felt like a part of it. Like I that's why I called it a sisterhood, because I
Right.
literally wanted it to feel like family,
Right.
because running a business as a solopreneur is exhausting and it's very lonely at times. Like even when I was talking to my husband earlier, I'm like, he just doesn't get it. Like I love him. I've been with him for like 17 years, but he just doesn't get how all of the little things that have to be done, that as the business owner, you're the one that has to do it.
Right. You
You
wear all the
know,
hats.
yeah, and so having a group of people that they get it, they're doing the same thing you are every single day is a beautiful thing, and I love every minute of it. So no, I mean, it's been so good, and it's been so good to have you. I honestly appreciate you, like, showing up, and, you always have, like, a good nugget of wisdom you've learned from, like, the networking event or, something that you've gone to, and I think that's
Mhm.
amazing. And then there was something else that I was gonna say, but I guess I'll remember later. Was there anything else that has, like, hit you recently, or that have you had any issues with a client, or, like, any kinda coaching, anything I can do for you, or how are you feeling?
No, I'm feeling good. I mean, you never know when you're going to step into something that makes you stretch. And so I might, I might definitely need some ideas for something where there's a closet situation and I need to think a little bit more outside the box, almost like a little bit of an interior designer. And I'm just walking a line on, how to navigate that. So I will be definitely chatting about that
Tomorrow?
for it. Right. I have myself all queued up for it.
Nice, I
Um,
I love it.
yeah, and but it's exciting at the same time. Sometimes the one thing I can say is sometimes because we are the solopreneur, because it's still, and I pray that it's always new and exciting because every new person is a new opportunity and it is cool. Like you say to us, we're problem solvers. Well, this is a new thing I've never seen before that I have to problem solve. And I just think it makes us better at what we do. But I think that one thing is not going overboard with how much you allow yourself to think about it all throughout the
Mm.
day. Like overthinking, not only overthinking in and of itself, but it bleeds into your personal time. So kind of doing boundaries on, oh, well, I'm just going to the store for something, but now I see organizing things and I just incorporate that. And before you know it, a half hour has gone by above and beyond. So it's sort of like, figuring out those things. I think it's a good strategy to kind of weave things in, but also to have some good boundaries, I would say.
Yeah, well, and that's the other thing I find, that a lot of us that are a lot of ladies that are drawn to me because of the things that's what I've dealt with, are having good boundaries, not knowing how to say no, these different things, and because we're helpers, we want to help. So it's coming from a place of wanting to help.
Right.
But then like you said, and almost always if I take a step back, especially with something like the closet thing, if I take a step back and I wait, the answer hits like in the shower, or I'll in the middle of the night and I'm sleeping, and then it's like once I can take a step back from it, but the whole time I'm like focused on it, it just gets like more confusing and more confusing and more stressful and more stressful. And sometimes that happens with certain situations that we're problem solving.
Right.
And that's why I think sometimes, just looking at it differently, but then to your point, as you go and as you'll start to learn what your typical products are, and a lot of situations will become more routine. But then you'll
Mhm.
still get those ones that you're like, what in the world do I do with this thing? Because of the way it's shaped or because of what they've, the way the shelves
Right.
are or whatever the thing is. But yeah, if when you keep looking at it as a problem and you're the problem solver and like you've got it, the answer always comes to you or in the group we help, obviously. But just remembering too, I think that at least I know I've done this. I put the pressure on myself that like, oh, but they're paying me and the amount they're paying me is so much. So like I have to, like hurry and get this figured out. And I don't sometimes give myself or even let the client know, like, hey, this one I may not be able to figure out by our next session. You might need to give me an extra day because this is a little more than what I typically do. It's very
Right.
hard to say that to a client. Like typically we feel the pressure of like, oh, I've got even if our next session's tomorrow, well then I better go home and figure it out tonight because I got to
Right.
figure that out for tomorrow.
Right. Right.
So I think sometimes
Yeah.
giving ourselves the grace and allowing ourselves to just tell the client like, "Hey, this one's, hitting me a little bit harder." And then and we'll kind of wind up with this, but like I did that airport job back right before Christmas. And I had it in my mind it was going to be this huge thing because they had showed me the warehouse, which it ended up being a huge thing. But
Mhm.
I had it all mapped out, like, and spent days and days, like, ordering products and measuring and figuring out what products were best and all the things. And then it ended up being 2 of the most simplest days that I have ever worked as an
Yeah.
organizer, and I'm like, "What just happened?" Because they had me bring my assistant, but then they had 2 of their workers there, and then they also brought 2 guys that moved all the shelves for us, and so I was just
Mm.
standing there half the time just, like, pointing, and I'm like,
Right.
"What?" But in my mind, I had it as, like I mean, I spent probably more time offsite getting ready for the job
Right.
than I did on-site actually doing the job.
Right. Right.
So, yeah, having those boundaries is something we all deal with. But thank you so much for coming on the show and for just, sharing your experience with everyone. And
Yeah.
congratulations on your clients and working with them and all of the
Thank you.
things. And then for all of you listening, we appreciate you for listening. If you've been thinking about joining us, come join us. Come check it out. Go to the academy. Look and see. If you hit the learn more button, there's a video showing you what the course is about. If you've already launched your business, you can always come join us in the community and, check it out. Spend a few months with us. It's 1 month at a time. If at any point you decide it's not for you, you can leave. No harm, no foul. We really just want to be there to help you and support you on this journey. So thank you so much. And thank you, Lisa. And I will
Thank you.
see you all in the next episode. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Pro Organizers Coach podcast. Go to proorganizerscoach.com to find all the ways that we can help you succeed in your business. Remember, you have the power to make a difference in people's lives through decluttering and organization. So keep honing your skills, embracing those challenges, and fostering connections. Girl, you've got this.